Hey guys, welcome to the Mental Edge Trading Psychology Podcast. I'm Sarah, a retired mental health therapist turned trader, and I teach trading psychology by combining clinical frameworks with actual trading experience. And today we are going to be talking about a concept I named the finish line freeze. And this is one of the biggest patterns I see in trading. It's about traders who can do everything absolutely right, everything perfectly, execute their strategy without fail, until they're about to reach their goal. And then everything they've been working towards suddenly falls apart. It blows up in their face, right? So what do we do about it? We're going deep today. Nervous system work, childhood wounds, shame spirals, all of it. And this is not mental health or financial advice. And at times it might get a little uncomfortable. But if you are tired of blowing up your accounts right before you make it, today we're going to try to figure out why. But first, I need to tell you about the time I blew a $3,000 account when I was literally $300 away from my first payout. Okay, I followed all of my rules, my plan. I traded it perfectly all week long. I was calm, confident. I was in the zone, and all I needed was just one more good day, right? One more good trade, and boom, this is it. It's perfect. And that morning, I woke up and everything in my body just felt wrong. My heart was racing, my hands were shaking. I wasn't even on the charts yet, and I was still just sick to my stomach, full of anxiety. And I just kept telling myself, it's fine, it's just nerves, it's just excitement, you're about to get your first payout, there's a lot going on with this. So I sit down to the charts, I'm like, okay, everything's gonna be fine, just shake the nerves off, right? And I got into a really clean setup and it started going my way. I was up $150 and I'm like, all right, sweet, halfway to it, just need to get 150 more and I'll get my first payout ever. This is awesome. And then all of a sudden this voice in my head started screaming, take it, take profit, lock it in, don't lose this, you have to take profit now. So I took profit at half my target and I was like, well, what did you just do? Because now you have to make 150 more to get another payout. Like, you didn't reach your payout goal yet, so you have to get back in. So I convinced myself I needed to make up that other half right then and there instead of waiting for the perfect setup. So what I did was I forced another trade, and it went against me. And I held it, I moved my stop, I added to the losing position, held it even longer. 15 minutes later, the entire account was gone. And I remember sitting there thinking, what just happened? What did I do? And that is when the finish line freeze happens. And personally, I've done it more times than I want to admit, and I know I'm not alone in that. So today, we are going to be breaking down why this keeps happening, why you keep sabotaging yourself right when you're about to win, and I'm going to tell you right now, it has nothing to do with discipline. So let's talk about what this actually looks like. What is the finish line freeze? The finish line freeze is that moment when everything's completely lined up, absolutely perfect. Okay, your goal is right there, you've done everything right, and your brain just goes, nope, not today. And you freeze, you start overthinking, you take completely irrational trades that you would never ever think to trade on a normal day, or maybe you just walk away completely. And you start to feel insane because you know what you're doing, you know how to trade, you've traded this perfectly for weeks now, you've proven you can do this, but all of a sudden, something takes over and you sabotage the whole entire account. You don't know why. And now you're left feeling frustrated and hopeless and like you're never going to make it as a trader. You guys, this has nothing to do with logic. This isn't a logical thinking problem. This is your nervous system trying to protect you from something that feels unfamiliar. And the finish line freeze, it comes from one of three places. So the first could be your body can't hold peace. The second is your mind rejects the win. Or the third is your story is built on collapse. So we're getting ready to walk through all three of those right now. And you need to know which one is driving your freeze. Because here's the thing. Your nervous system is not designed for success. It's designed for survival. And it's going to prioritize familiarity over progress every single time. So if all your nervous system knows is hustling but never getting there, or getting close and then falling apart right before you make it, when you actually break through that pattern, your body starts to panic because finishing something is foreign to your brain. It doesn't know how to finish something and sit with the finished product. So when something's foreign to the brain, your brain treats it like a threat. Because the brain hates new things. I mean, think about it. Your brain is managing your entire body 24/7. Every heartbeat, every breath, every cell doing exactly what it's supposed to do at the exact time it's supposed to do it, your brain doesn't really have the bandwidth to learn something new right now. And that is why it is so easy to fall into old habits over and over again. The brain is lazy and it knows what's familiar. It can handle what's familiar, but becoming a successful trader, your brain doesn't know what that looks like, what that life means, what it's going to have to deal with. So when you're one trade away from a payout and your brain sends that signal to abort mission, what's actually happening is your amygdala is activating. When you approach anything novel or uncertain, good or bad, it doesn't matter to the brain. Even positive change gets flagged as danger if it disrupts your baseline. If your baseline is struggle, success will feel dangerous to you. Then finishing your goal is going to equal dysregulation to your nervous system, because your nervous system doesn't crave success, it craves familiarity. And it's not asking in the moment, is this good or bad for me? It's asking, have we been here before? So if your baseline, the state of mind you normally operate from, is hustling, scrambling, trying to constantly prove yourself, never quite getting there, then that becomes your normal in life. The moment you step outside that normal by actually succeeding, your body starts to freak out and it triggers dysregulation. And even though you're in a better situation, your brain still perceives it as a threat because it's new. And here's what this actually looks like for you in your trading. When you're trading, you're following your plan, everything's going right. All of a sudden you start thinking, hey, I'm doing good. I'm in a win streak. I actually might make this work. I might make my payout. Once you come to that realization, well, then your heart rate starts to spike. You get hypervigilant. You start scanning for everything that could possibly go wrong. And now, instead of I'm one trade away from a payout, I've got this, it's I know I'm going to blow this. And you start getting nervous. You start sabotaging. You can't enter trades that you need to enter. You start freezing. And then, worse than that, you start taking random trades just to relieve the tension you're feeling of the discomfort of the winning streak because you're not used to holding it. And you end up blowing the account and becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what's called homeostatic resistance. And it's where your nervous system is trying to drag you back to your baseline state. And even if your baseline really sucks, and you hate it, because for most of us, the brain would rather feel dysregulated somewhere familiar than regulated somewhere new. But the good news is this wiring isn't permanent. You are not stuck being the person who freezes at the finish line, who blows accounts every time you're just this close to making it. Neuroplasticity means you can rewire your brain to be who you want to be. But you will have to understand what's happening first, what's going on in your brain. And to do that, we first need to go through the 3 different layers of the freeze. The first layer is your body can't hold peace, because most of us, we are wired for the climb, the journey, not the plateau or the destination, right? And your nervous system has adapted to scrambling under pressure, managing chaos at every turn, being on edge constantly, always scanning for the next threat out there. And honestly, hustle culture makes this so much worse. If you're not doing something 24/7, backtesting, journaling, studying every trade you've ever taken, you're falling behind, you're failing, and that narrative just makes everyone so much more dysregulated and stressed out. But successful trading, it should be boring. You shouldn't be hustling 24/7. You should get in, take your trade, and go. That is what we came here to do, not sit on the charts all day, right? So when you're bored with your trading, when you feel calm and safe, that is how you know you're regulated. That is how you know you are getting to a point in trading where, hey, I am about to make this work. But boredom, it feels threatening to a body that only knows hustle, movement, and survival, because stillness, calm power, being bored with yourself and your surroundings and being okay with it, that feels really dangerous. So the work with all of this is that you have to teach your body that peace is safe, that stillness, boringness, it's safe, it's okay. And you do this through what I call safe success reps. So celebrate small wins without rushing to the next thing. Hold it, sit with it, enjoy it, remind yourself, I'm safe, I'm following my plan, I don't have to do anything right now to prove I'm worthy, to prove I'm a good trader, because you need to celebrate your wins. You need to celebrate your accomplishments. If you just immediately have an accomplishment and then push on to the next thing, how does the brain know that that's an accomplishment? How does the brain know that you did something good if you don't sit there and take the time to celebrate it? If you don't sit there and take the time to be proud of yourself, to soak that in, because that's how confidence is built. When you do something right and then celebrate it afterwards, confidence comes after repeated correct actions. And when you celebrate those actions, that signals to the brain, I did something good. Let's remember that for next time. But if you do the right thing and then just push forward and keep hustling, keep grinding, keep just ignoring what you did and trying to focus on the next thing, the brain doesn't know that that was an important moment for you. The brain doesn't know that you just did something you've been trying really hard to do, and it won't be able to rewire itself the way it needs to rewire itself if you don't sit and hold those moments, if you don't sit and celebrate those wins. You didn't move your stop loss today when you struggled with that for months. That is awesome. Sit and celebrate that. Get yourself an ice cream cone. Dance to your favorite song. It doesn't have to be anything big. Just do something that makes you feel a little extra happy for not moving your stop loss that day. You also need stillness training. So answer these two questions for me. Can you sit in silence without immediately planning your next goal? And can you feel peace without self-doubt creeping in? These aren't necessarily easy questions to answer, but you need to practice being still, practice being bored. And if you have a really hard time with that or don't know if you can do it, set a timer for 90 seconds and don't move, okay? Get in a position, put your hands there, put your feet on the floor. Don't move, don't fidget, don't change your breathing. Just sit there and breathe for 90 seconds. And if you feel the urge to constantly fidget or mess around with something or look around or do something, move your eyeballs around, you're probably struggling with being able to sit in stillness, okay? The goal with this 90-second exercise is to just sit there and breathe without having the urge to move, without having the urge to do something. Because when we have to keep moving or fidgeting or just feel the urge to just get up, we can't sit still. What that means is we're typically dysregulated. And when you're dysregulated in outside life, you're going to be dysregulated in trading, because trading amplifies whatever state we're in and are outside of trading life. And social media is really bad for this. I think I read somewhere that you get a dopamine release roughly every 19 seconds or so when you're scrolling social media. And that's why it's so easy to get caught doom scrolling for hours on end, and you look up and it's been 3 hours. And that is why it is so hard to just sit still, because you're not getting a dopamine release. You're not getting a dopamine hit from just sitting and staring at the wall in front of you and sitting with your thoughts. That makes you uncomfortable. It makes you nervous. It makes you feel like you have to get out of here, because if we can't sit with the boredness, then we're not going to be able to be calm. It's not normal for humans to not be able to sit with being bored. This is a newfound problem we've had since social media, cell phones, all of these things came about. And we don't really know necessarily how to handle that yet as human beings. When we constantly have dopamine at our fingertips every second of every day, that becomes essentially an addiction. And when we feel bored, our brain starts saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable right now. I need to hit a dopamine. So when you can't sit still for 90 seconds without the urge to get on your phone, look around the room, start fidgeting, hustling, that's your body trying to escape discomfort. Sitting in stillness, sitting and being bored feels so unfamiliar, it makes us anxious, because we're not used to not having dopamine flooding our system 24/7. So you need to practice being bored, practice being still, put yourself in a screen-free situation for a period of time every single day. And when you do that, that's when you can start getting comfortable. Because guys, boredom is the best thing that could happen to us. Boredom is what imagination stems from, creativity, excitement, like dream building. Boredom is a phenomenal thing to experience, because that's when we really start to level ourselves up. That's when we really start to think of who we could be as human beings. But when we are constantly trying to avoid boredom because it feels uncomfortable, because we're not getting that dopamine hit 24/7, that's not good. That's not what we want to be. So you need to practice being bored, get comfortable with being bored. And if you really need help, start with some slower activities. Get a coloring book and crayons, get a crossword puzzle, do some things that really engage your brain. But what you don't want is to be scrolling social media constantly, because the more we are craving dopamine hits in our normal life outside of trading, the more amplified those dopamine cravings are going to be inside of trading. You also need to get comfortable with success feeling calm instead of chaotic for you. So when you feel good, tell your body, we're not in danger, everything's okay. Practice your deep breathing, your grounding exercises, whatever it may be, because you are training your brain to receive dopamine in a healthy way instead of jumping into another trade just for that hit. Because right now, like I said, we are constantly being flooded with dopamine at every turn. How are you supposed to function normally, trade normally, if all you're looking for is that next dopamine hit and you're using trading to get it instead of social media or video games or whatever your outside source in normal life may be? That is not how it works. So how do you bridge that gap? What do we do? That is what we need to do, because you can't go hustle, 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 then just sit when, hey, I'm a good, successful trader. That's fine. No, you can't do that. We'll go over exercises at the end to be able to help with that. But no, you have to be able to practice being bored, practice sitting in that stillness, practice telling yourself we're not in danger, everything's okay. You can do the right thing and walk away and still be fine. You have to remind yourself of that, and that rewires the brain. The second layer is your mind rejects the win, and this is where your imposter syndrome lives. Imposter syndrome spikes right after success happens, and if success threatens your self-concept of who you are as a human being, your brain is going to reject it as well. And this is called cognitive dissonance, where mental stress from holding two conflicting beliefs at the exact same time start to interfere with each other. So in trading, this can look like, I'm not the kind of person who wins, versus I'm on a 6-day green streak, or I always fall apart right before the finish line, versus I'm one trade away from a payout. And that contradiction you have between those two mindset beliefs creates discomfort. And when you have discomfort, your brain has to resolve it now. So you have two options. You can upgrade your identity to, maybe I'm someone who wins now, or you can sabotage the outcome so your reality matches who you believe you are. And the brain is always going to pick the easier path, always. And the easier path, especially when you're dysregulated, is always going to be option 2. Sabotage yourself to bring you back to your comfort level. So unless you're paying attention to what's actually happening, you're going to start blowing your account, mismanaging risk, walking away from your trades right before the setup plays out. And this is your brain trying to restore order between your identity and your outcomes. And cognitive dissonance, it says, I'd rather be right about being unworthy than risk proving I'm not. And this is why identity work matters, because the more you see yourself as someone who finishes, who crosses the finish line, who reaches your goals, the less friction you'll actually hit when it starts to happen. And the third layer is your story is built on collapse. And this is the deepest layer there is for the finish line freeze, because this is capacity trauma. And capacity trauma is when your nervous system believes you can only tolerate a certain amount of success, calmness, money, happiness, peace, whatever it may be, before it all disappears. And then it collapses, blows up in your face, or good moments are followed immediately by disaster. And what happens is that your body learns that you need to brace for loss. When you feel happiness, you need to brace for being hurt immediately after. The body is trying to protect you from getting hurt. So you start to develop what's called an upper limit. And in trading, that could look like you hit this new high P&L and it's great, but then you overtrade, revenge trade, blow your account the exact next day. Or you could hit your daily goal, then try to double it. Or you grow your account and blow it within a week. Your system, whatever it may be, is terrified of holding more than it's used to. You don't fear success. You fear the pain of losing that success. You fear getting hurt after, because if something good is coming, your body has learned that something bad typically follows right behind it. And this often comes from childhood, where joy is interrupted by chaos, repeated betrayal, abandonment, disappointment, emotional neglect, inconsistent caregivers, where you never knew when the good would disappear. Capacity trauma is one of the most deep-rooted subconscious drivers of your fight or flight response. So why does success feel heavier than failure? Because success is active, all right? It brings visibility, responsibility, decisions when you're not necessarily ready for them. But failure Failure feels familiar. It's a loop that you've practiced over and over again so much that it's become automatic for you. But success, it triggers survival fears. What if I can't hold this? What if I lose it all? What if people expect more from me now that I've made it? And your body starts to reason with you, if I fall apart now, at least I'm in control of it. But if I succeed, I don't really know what's going to happen next. And that preemptive plan, it feels less threatening than the vulnerability of going somewhere you've never been before. So in trading, failure starts to become self-regulation. It brings you back to your zone of familiarity, to the no expectations, no growth pressure, no changes. You choose failure not because you want to fail, but because your nervous system isn't trained to hold what success demands. So how do you recognize your upper limit? Here's what I want you to think about. When does your freeze or self-sabotaging start to begin? Answer that question. Is it when you make $200, when you're one trade away from a payout, when you're on a winning streak? For me, I always struggled with blowing my account and self-sabotaging the day before I was about to hit a payout. If you look at all my stories I've gone through my videos, it was always right before a payout, I blew something up. Whatever it may be for you, your capacity trauma is going to show up in your numbers. It's going to show you how much money you can handle holding before your brain starts sabotaging, before your fear of failure starts to kick in, before your fear of success starts to kick in. And that capacity, your upper limit, that all shows up in your numbers. And that is really, really great data you need to mark down for yourself, because once you know where your upper limit is, you can start working on expanding it. And you can expand it the same way you build muscles at a gym, through progressive overload, small, manageable increases over a long period of time. So if you can handle $50 losses without your emotions kicking in, only risk $50 until that feels completely neutral and no emotions, good or bad, kick in. And then bump it up to $60, and then $70, and then $100, whatever it may be. But what you're doing is you're building tolerance to risk slowly and over time, the way you build muscle in a gym, slowly and over time. You can't go into a gym and immediately deadlift 500 pounds and be amazing without seriously hurting yourself, right? Like, you can't go in and make $500 to $1,000 or lose $500 to $1,000 without seriously hurting yourself mentally and trading. You have to build tolerance slowly and over time, because money is our number one survival resource. Because if we're just risking it willy-nilly like that and not actually prepared to lose that amount of money, expecting to come in and always have a green day every single day, your brain's not going to be able to hold that. It's not going to be able to build a tolerance. You're just going to keep pouring salt into an open wound every single time. So that is why I stress to everybody, it's slow, it's boring, it's not fun. But if you micro risk, if you build tolerance to risking slowly and over time, you won't struggle with revenge trading, over trading, things like that anymore, because your brain won't see it as a threat anymore. That is what you need to do. That is how you grow as a trader, through the micro risking, through the tolerance building. And then honestly, we need to talk about what's actually driving all of this, okay? Because this is the core beneath all of it. When you hold that losing trade way past your stop loss, we tend to think we're being hopeful that it'll turn around, or just, it'll come back, everything's okay. But what you're actually experiencing in that moment is shame. And shame is different from every other emotion in life and in trading, because shame controls the beliefs we hold about ourselves. So we have guilt and then we have shame. Most people don't tend to understand the difference between the two. Guilt, it says, I did something bad. But shame says, I am bad. Guilt is about behavior. Shame is about identity. So when you feel guilt, you think, I made a mistake on that trade. Well, that's manageable. That's okay. You can fix a mistake. But when you feel shame and you think, I'm a failure, I'm incompetent, I'm not enough, I'm never going to make this, I'm not cut out for trading, that's existential, right? You can't fix who you are when you're constantly telling yourself that. So when you're in a losing trade, you think you're feeling guilty about a bad decision for not following your stop loss, but what's really going on is you're feeling shame about being a bad trader, about being somebody who makes bad decisions, being fundamentally flawed as a human being. And that's why it feels so unbearable to take a loss in trading. Guilt says, I should have followed my stop loss. You can address that next time. That's fine. But shame says, I'm the kind of person who can't follow my own rules. I'm weak and I don't have what it takes. And that feels permanent, unfixable, painful, and we don't want to feel that pain. Our brain hates when shame kicks in because it knows we're about to spiral into a loop of self-hatred, and the brain doesn't want to hate you. But shame, that's its favorite game to play. And where this comes from for a lot of us, especially high achievers, we built our survival strategy in childhood around the belief, if I'm good enough, I'll be safe. If I achieve enough, I'll be loved. So when you got good grades, your parents, your teachers, they lit up for you in excitement. They celebrated you. When you won, you got attention. When you excelled, you felt like you mattered. You were important. But when you failed, when you made mistakes, when you weren't special in that moment, maybe you were met with criticism or disappointment. Maybe love was withdrawn, not in an overt way, but you felt it there. Or worse, you just felt like you became invisible and you didn't matter anymore. So you learned that being right equals safety and being wrong equals danger. And you started building armor out of achievement because being smart, being capable, competent, that armor that kept you safe, and it made people see you, it made you worthy of love. And now you're an adult, you're trading, and every single loss threatens to shatter that armor that you've built to protect yourself. And when you take a loss, you're not just losing money. You're facing the possibility that maybe you're not as smart as you thought you were, that maybe the armor doesn't work anymore, or that maybe underneath all of that achievement, you're just not enough for yourself. And that's shame. It's not true, but shame, it tells you if people see the real you, the one who makes mistakes, who fails, who doesn't always know what they're doing, they won't love you. They won't want you. You won't be safe. And shame is the feeling that you are fundamentally flawed and unworthy of belonging. And that is why it has so much power over you and your trading, because belonging is a survival need. Being cast out, rejected, seen as inadequate, your nervous system reads that as a death sentence, okay? So that is why shame makes you freeze, why you literally cannot click the button to close that losing trade, because closing that losing trade is confirming the shameful thing about you is true, admitting I was wrong, which means I'm not as confident as I need to be, which means I might not be safe. And as long as you don't close the trade, you're still potentially worthy, safe, everything might still be okay because the wave function hasn't collapsed yet. Closing the trade collapses it. Closing the trade is certainty that you were wrong, you made a mistake, and your brain would rather stay in agonizing uncertainty than face the certainty of shame. And here's how this becomes a trap for you. So when you hold a losing trade because you can't face the shame of being wrong, eventually you close it at a bigger loss or you blow your account, right? We've all been there a million times. It's okay. But now you feel shame about holding it too long and shame about the bigger loss or the blown account you just took. So the next trade, you're going to be even more desperate to be right. You're going to either risk way too much trying to make it back, or you're going to start cutting your winning positions way too early to secure proof that you were competent, that you were good, that you can make trading happen for yourself. And either way, you are trading from a shame state, which means you are not thinking clearly right now, and you're making worse decision, taking more losses, feeling more shame, and that shame, it feeds itself and it becomes a loop, and every single loss becomes evidence that you're not good enough. And the more evidence you tend to collect on this, the more desperate you become to avoid the next piece of evidence. So now you're stuck in a loop where shame is both the cause of your poor trading and the result of it. And shame thrives in silence. It loves secrecy. So we don't tend to talk about our mistakes with other people because it's embarrassing. It makes us feel like people are going to judge us, like we're not going to be good enough, like they're going to think we're stupid or something, right? So we don't admit to other traders that we moved our stop loss or held way past our target. We lie about how successful we are in trading because, well, look, they seem to have it all together. They seem to be making it work. I should be there too. I don't want to admit that I'm struggling because then they're going to think less of me, because admitting that you're struggling, admitting that you moved your stop means that people will see you as flawed, like you're struggling, not the competent trader you present yourself as. So you keep it hidden, and that shame, it grows in the dark, and shame, it tells you you're the only one out there who struggles with this. Everyone else has discipline. Everyone else took that trade exactly how they're supposed to. You're the one who is uniquely incompetent at this. And because you don't talk about it, you never learn that literally every single trader who has ever traded in the history of trading is fighting the same exact battle as you. You never see that this is a normal, natural, universal human response to failure, to losses. It's not some sort of personal defect you have in your brain. My worth is conditional. I have to earn it by being right, by achieving, by being competent. And if I fail, if I'm wrong, then I am not good enough. I am not worthy of love. I am not worthy of belonging, of safety. And that is the lie. And it is so deeply embedded in you, as all of us as human beings, that you don't even recognize it as a belief anymore. It just feels like the truth. So every single trade you take starts to become a test of your worth as a human being. A green P&L means you're worthy. It means you did good today. It means that you can be happy because you performed like you should have. But a red P&L means you're not worthy, you're shameful, you're an embarrassment, you should never show your face again, you're never going to make it as a trader. Winning trades, they equal safety for us in our brains, while losing trades, they tend to equal danger, which is why we hate sitting with losers so much, because we know what's going to come after the loss is that shame spiral, is that self-hatred, is that disgusting nastiness we have to sit with all day, and we don't want to be there because that causes us pain, and the brain hates pain. It would rather avoid pain and move your stop loss than sit with the uncertainty of sticking to your stop loss, because it is afraid of what you will put it through. And you can't trade well from that state of mind. You can't trade well from a mental place like that. When your worth is on the line with every trade you take, you are never going to be able to take optimal risk. You are never going to be able to cut your losses quickly, let your winners run, whatever it may be, because you're too busy managing your sense of worthiness to actually manage your trades. Okay, so now that you know why you freeze and what the shame is actually doing to you, the question becomes, what do you actually do about it? Because understanding it is great, but it doesn't fix it, right? You have to rewire it. And here are a few exercises we can do. The first thing is we need to start separating your trading performance from your worth as a person, as a human being. So you have to heal the wound that says being wrong means I'm not good enough. And that work, it happens in your body and in your nervous system, because you cannot think your way out of shame. You have to rewire it. And to do so, you have to start separating your trading performance from your worth as a human being. You have to heal the wound that says being wrong means I'm not good enough. And that work, it happens in your body, in your nervous system, because you can't think your way out of shame, okay? You have to feel your way through it. And there's a method I like to use. It's a 4-step framework called the SAFE method, S-A-F-E. And this can be really helpful in rewiring your finish line reflexes. So looking at the SAFE method, let's start with S. And S is spot the pattern. Are you freezing? Are you panicking? Are you sabotaging? What is happening right now? When you're $100 away from a payout, suddenly your heart rate's going to start spiking. Your palms are going to start sweating. You're going to second guess everything. What you want to do is you want to spot it and name it. Say out loud, this is my nervous system response. I am not in danger. This is my pattern when I am close to reaching success. And what this does is it interrupts the shame spiral for you, okay? And so instead of I'm worthless, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to make it work, you're starting to recognize this is my brain responding to something unfamiliar, and I'm not feeling in this moment. This is just how my wiring is right now. It doesn't have to stay this way. And then let's look at A. A is anchor safety in your body. So you want to regulate yourself is what this means, okay? Show your body you don't have to abort the mission when it's screaming at you to do so. So some ways you can do that. The first is you can put your hand on your chest and practice some deep breathing. You can use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. So what that is you look around the room and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So for me, I can see my podcast microphone, my computer monitor, my cell phone, my tripod, and a lamp. 4 things I could feel are my sweatshirt on my skin, my butt in my chair, my foot on the footstool, and the texture of my desk. 3 things I can hear are the road noise outside, my baby laughing downstairs, and the toy she's playing with. 2 things I can smell are the air freshener in the room and the onion on my breath that I had for lunch. And the 1 thing I can taste is the onion I had for lunch. So do you see how long it took to do that exercise? This is an exercise that doesn't take a super long amount of time, but just enough that it forces your logical brain back online and grounds you back into reality and forces you to use your logical brain in that moment so intensely that your emotions have no choice but to subside. They're not going to go away completely, but you're going to be so locked in on the logical part of it that when you come back to your trade, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to make a logical decision much more easily after doing this exercise. Another thing you can try is using affirmations like, I'm safe, I know what I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And what these do is they anchor you and they keep you still instead of reacting immediately to the fear. And then we have F. F is feel the discomfort without escaping it. And what this does is it builds tolerance, okay? Think of it as nervous system weightlifting, essentially. So you're gonna feel the panic, that voice that says, get out now, stay in for 10 more seconds. Challenge yourself, keep your levels in place, and just let it go for 10 more seconds. Breathe through it, let it pass, or just sit in it and set a timer if you have to. Because if you can sit in the discomfort for 90 seconds, it will most likely stop being uncomfortable for you. So the goal here is sitting with the anxiety while using your anchor statements and grounding that we used in the A, anchor safety section. And then we have E as the last one. E is execute anyways. Finish your plan, cross the finish line, reread your trading strategy, confirm your stops, whatever it may be. Manage your trade with clarity in the moment, not compulsion. Remind yourself, this is just a rep and I stay present for my reps. And every single time you finish a trade using the SAFE method, your nervous system learns. It builds the new neural pathways that we're trying to rewire in ourselves, and it reinforces the belief that you don't have to collapse under pressure. You can find calmness, regulation, trust in yourself, and it is okay. The second exercise is building tolerance through exposure. This is the same exact work used for phobias and PTSD. It's exposure therapy in a sense, okay? The goal here is to expose yourself to the thing that activates you, losses, being wrong, whatever it may be, in small doses while still staying regulated. So what you want to do is you want to start smaller than feels reasonable. So if losing $500 sends you into a shame spiral, you don't want to trade that size. You are not capable of trading that size at this time, and that's okay. You want to trade so small that losses barely register for you. Try it $100, try $50. I don't care if it feels ridiculous. The goal here isn't to make money. The goal is to practice being wrong and being able to stay regulated at the same time. That's the real work we need to do, because that is what exposes us and builds our tolerance. It teaches our nervous system, I can be wrong and everything's still okay. I can make a mistake and I can be safe because my worth is not on the line with this loss. And as your body learns that losses don't threaten your survival, eventually they won't even bother you anymore, and that is when you can increase your size by 10%. So when you're in a losing trade and feel that activation, the tight chest, the stomach drop, voice screaming, just notice it, okay? Where do you feel it? What does it feel like? Can you name what is going on? Can you say, this is a threat response right now? This is shame. This is my brain trying to protect me from feeling inadequate. Because naming it for yourself creates distance, because you are not the feeling. You are just observing the feeling. And then once you do that, just breathe and sit with it. Don't act on it, because now we have identified what it is. That kind of takes away the control it has. And the more you stay present with the discomfort without reacting to it, the more tolerance you build and the less control over you this discomfort has. And when you do this, you prove to yourself that you can feel these feelings and still survive them. And then we have the practice that goes deeper than in the moment exercises. So when you feel the activation, I want you to say out loud, I was wrong about the trade, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong about me. I'm still worthy, I still belong, I'm still good enough, and I matter. And what you're doing is you're reparenting yourself, okay? You're giving yourself the message that your younger self needed to hear when they were wrong, when they didn't feel good enough, because you're teaching yourself that you can make mistakes and still be loved. You can be wrong and still be safe. And you want to do this every single time, even when it feels stupid, especially when it feels stupid. And then we have what's called the stop method for your crisis moments. When you're in the middle of a trade and your emotions are about to take over, there's always going to be a warning sign, whether it's your heart starts racing, your chest starts getting tight, your blood rushes from your head to your toes, or maybe you start thinking, I should get out now, I should take profit, this doesn't look right. What's happening is these are your emotions warning you to protect yourself before you do something you'll regret. When this starts kicking in, you've got about 45 to 60 seconds before your emotions take over fully, okay? When you hear these thoughts happening, this is the turning point for you. And if you ignore them, your emotions take over and say, hold my beer. And before you know it, you've lost complete control. You've blown your account, you start spiraling again. So when you feel yourself wanting to jump into another trade like this, you need to use the stop method. So what is the stop method? S-T-O-P. S is stop everything and freeze. Physically freezing prevents you from doing what your emotions want you to do. When you physically freeze, don't move your hand, don't move your face, don't move your eyes, you become the boss of your body and your emotions, because that physical stop jerks your prefrontal cortex back into control. T is going to be take a step back. So give yourself time to calm down and think. Take a physical step back from the situation and count to 10 while taking deep breaths, all right? In through your nose, out through your mouth. And what this does is it slows your heart rate and activates your prefrontal cortex while simultaneously calming your body down, because you cannot be anxious and deep breathing at the same time. And when this happens, your wise mind starts to step back into control. Then we have O. And O is observe what's going on. Just observe the facts of the situation. No emotions, no jumping to conclusions. I took a loss. I want to get back into a trade. What's happening in the charts right now? Does this follow my plan? What would be the best thing for me to do next? And P is going to be to proceed mindfully. Ask yourself, what do I want out of this situation? What are my goals? What choices might make this better or worse for me? And this is going to show you how your wise mind would deal with the problem. When you are calm, when you are intentional, and you have information about what's going on, you're going to be much better prepared to deal with it effectively without making it worse. And the stop method, it gives your logical mind just enough time to take back over if you allow it to take back over. And when the logical mind can take back over, you can make a decision that helps you instead of hurts you. No, your emotions will not go away completely, but it will allow you to make a logical decision and the urges to subside just some. Because here's the thing, you can practice stop method all day long, bring your logical mind back online all day long, but if you allow your emotions to keep coming right back in, they will easily take over again. You are in a very vulnerable place when this happens. So once you stop and proceed mindfully, you need to move on to the next thing, or you will end up coming back and self-sabotaging yourself. And then we have urge surfing. And this is probably my personal favorite exercise for traders. So when a powerful urge hits, whether it's revenge trading, chasing, deviating from your plan, start to think of it like a wave. Waves, they rise, they peak, and they fall all on their own. But most traders, they tend to act at the peak. And every single time you do this, you reinforce bad habits, and those bad habits just get stronger. It makes the wave bigger. So the next time the urge hits, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger every single time you give into it. But urges don't last forever. So if you don't act at that peak, they pass and they fall all on their own. So how do we do it? How do we let these urges peak on their own without giving into them? Because it feels impossible at this moment, right? So when you feel the urge, just label it, name it out loud. This is the urge to get back into a trade. And notice, where do you feel it? Is your chest getting tight? Are your palms sweaty? Are you having racing thoughts, nausea? Where are you feeling it in your body? Pay attention to that. The next, you want to visualize the wave. You want to visualize it rising, peaking, and falling, and ride through it like you're on a surfboard, okay? Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and don't act on it. Just observe the wave doing what waves do. You can distract yourself if needed. My personal favorite way to do it is to do 20 push-ups, run up and down the stairs, do some burpees, whatever it may be, because intense exercise helps process cortisol out of the body more quickly than anything else out there. So if you're feeling those urges and it feels so intense that you have to give into them, guys, just because trading caused the intense urges doesn't mean you have to use trading to get rid of the intense urges, okay? So when you feel those urges and you don't feel like you can do anything but give into them, get down and do 20 push-ups, or run up and down your stairs, or 20 burpees, whatever it may be. And when you do that, what's going to happen is these urges, they tend to last roughly 90 seconds on average. So if you can hold out, if you can do those exercises, you're going to allow the urge to pass naturally, and it's going to become much easier for you to wait for your actual setup, because the more you give into these urges, the stronger they get. The more you let them pass and get rid of them in a healthy way, or just let them pass on their own, the easier they get to ride through. So the last exercise we're going to go over is the pre-commitment systems. So you can't trust yourself when shame is online and your nervous system is activated. Makes sense, right? So we don't want to. That's not the plan. What we want to do instead is make decisions before we're activated. Have the hard stops that execute automatically, and take the decision out of your hand. Your regulated self makes the plan. The system executes it. It's helpful to have things like time-based rules, like I won't touch this trade for 20 minutes, or maybe give your nervous system time to settle. Screenshot your plan and send it to somebody. Have that external accountability. You could also try position sizing limits. Never risk more than X% of a trade. And what this is going to do is it's going to cap the pain while limiting the activation that you're allowed to feel from your emotions. Another one could be a profit-taking rule. At 2RR, I automatically take half and move my stops to break even. And here, if you do this, you get validation. You made money. You were right. It's still great, while still leaving room for your trade to run. And what you're doing with these pre-commitment systems is you are creating calm for yourself. You are taking care of your activated self from your regulated state of mind. And think of it like an insurance policy, essentially. You don't need it when you buy the insurance policy, but you're thankful that you have it when the disaster strikes, right? And guys, look, we're not aiming for perfection, okay? Perfect execution does not exist. It's never going to exist. Even the best traders still have days where they mess up or go on tilt every once in a while, because that's normal. That's how our brains work, okay? We can never fully escape how our brains were designed to work. Your brain is always going to want to cut winners early, hold losers too long, but we want to just practice being good enough. And that is sticking to your plan 90% of the time, letting your winners run 85% of the time, not giving into the urge to revenge trade after losses, following your position sizing plan, admitting I was wrong about that trade without spiraling into I'm a failure, I'm never going to make this work, into that shame spiral, because you are a human being and we need to become one who can feel everything with the shame, the fear, the inadequacy, and still take action, still stay calm and do the right thing. Some days you're going to nail it. Some days it's going to be great. And some days you're going to hold a loser way too long because you couldn't face feeling wrong. And that's normal. That is what the brain is designed to do. I'm not saying it's okay to go on tilt and blow your account and just be reckless and stupid, but I'm saying it is normal for your brain to do what brains are designed to do. And you can't beat yourself up about that, because typically when your brain reacts that way, there's something deeper going on, something in your outside life that is going on, that is triggering you to not be fully present in the moment with your trading. And on those days, the work isn't going to be to shame yourself into being more disciplined. The work is going to be trying to understand what got activated in me, what old wound got brought up. Can I have compassion for myself right now? Not did I execute it perfectly, but am I building capacity for myself? Am I learning that I can be wrong and still be okay? Am I healing the wound that makes losses feel like death for me? That right there, that is the real work in growing and becoming who we need to be as a trader, and bridging that gap from hustle, grind to calm, successful trader. Because look, the finish line freeze is not a quirk that you can overcome, okay, with better discipline. It is a survival mechanism built on a lifetime of learning. That means being wrong means you're not safe, not loved, not good enough, and you can't think your way out of that. You have to feel your way through it. So every single time you take a loss at your stop loss, you're proving that you can be wrong and still survive it, and it's okay. You are healing that wound when you don't move your stop loss, one trade at a time, and that's amazing. You should celebrate that. Every single time you let a winner run past where it feels comfortable, you are teaching yourself that you don't need to grasp for validation, that you can trust good things to unfold for you. This is slow, tedious, uncomfortable work, and it requires feeling things that you spent your whole life trying to avoid. I always say trading teaches you more about yourself than therapy ever will. But this is the work that changes everything for you inside and out of trading. So here's what I want you to do this week. I just want you to just start with trading smaller than you think you should, okay? Small enough that a loss doesn't send you into threat response mode. And every single time you take a loss, I don't care if it's only $5, just say out loud, I was wrong about this trade. That doesn't mean I'm wrong about me. I am still worthy. And do that every single time you trade this week and see what starts to shift. You don't need to focus on putting all these different things into place all at once. That's just going to overwhelm you and make you give up and fall back into the same cycle. We don't want to do that, okay? Just focus on one small thing you can control this week, okay? Guys, this is the Mental Edge Trading Psychology Podcast. I'm Sarah, and I'll see you next week.